Okay. So the authentication authorization we do using these guards, right? So in order to create guard, we use this command line syntax: ng generate guard and your guard name. Okay, so I just tried creating authentication guard. So basically, what this guard will do is it will execute some logic and finally determine whether it's a true or false. Okay, so finally it will return either true or false, meaning that if it returns true, let's say we have this scenario, right? So admin and regular user. So regular user should not or like must not have access to the admin user pages, right? In those cases, we execute some logic here and finally determine whether that user has admin role or not. If he has admin role, this will return true. If he doesn't have admin role, it will return false. So when it returns false, Angular will not take that user to the admin screen. I mean, because we restrict him to going to that page, right? So basically, Angular itself will stop. We don't have to do anything. So finally, we just have to tell what is the outcome of this logic, whether he is admin or not. The same way, even for authentication also, right? So there are two things when it comes to um, authentications, like authentication or authorization, right? So we have two things: authentication and authorization. Authentication is identifying users who are logged in and who are not logged in. Okay, and authorization is after you log in, what role you have. Okay, do you have authorization to access this page, or do you have authorization to access certain features, or do you have access to perform this edit action or delete action? So that comes under authorization. But whereas authentication is, it will just check whether you logged in or not. If you log in, only it will fetch your information and it will display. Okay, so if you log in with your credential, let's take the Gmail as an example. If you log into your Gmail account, then only your emails and your content will come and it will be displayed to you, right? So if I log in, my emails and my content will come and show. So in order to identify my Google will identify whether like who logged in. So if this person logs in, only I have to show that person's emails or any attachments, files, or anything. And if other person logins, then we have to show only that person details. We should not show this person details to that person and that person details to this person. So that is comes under the authorization. Sorry, the authentication. And authorization is, as we talked about, right, the roles. If you have role A, role B, role C. So role A has certain actions, role B performs certain actions, and role C performs a different set of actions. So we should not basically um, show all the actions to all the users. So we have to restrict. So that restriction comes under the authorization. But when it comes to Angular, you can perform these two. Okay, these two using the guards. Okay, but here the name is guard. In when you are creating Angular guards, the name is guard, but when it creates, right, so it will create a normal class. It's a TypeScript class, but it will implement can activate. Okay, it will not implement a guard class or guard interface. It will implement can activate. Okay, so the can activate is an interface and it will have a can activate method. Okay, it will take two parameters. One is the activated root snapshot and the other one is router state snapshot. But it can return multiple types of values. It can return an observable with the Boolean or URL tree, a promise with Boolean or URL tree, or Boolean value itself or URL. So it can return either of these values. Excuse me. So finally, so if we are returning true, right? So that means this return type we are returning. So this is valid. Okay, but it returns true, Angular will perform that action. If it is return false, it will not perform that action. So how can we provide this guards to restrict the roots, right? So we have to go to the roots file, roots configuration file, and against any path, like which path you want to restrict, you can add a parameter like a field called can activate, and then you can add that guard there. Okay. So, and after that, your component and component configuration, this is as usual. But only thing is, you have to add this one extra to make a guard activate. Okay. So we are using this can activate. This is just a keyword here. So can activate, and it is taking an array. Okay. So not only one guard, you can give more than one guard for one route. That means for certain actions, two roles might be two roles might be having permission to do some action, right? So in that case, we can give two guards here. Like let's say we have super admin and admin role. Okay, super admin can delete some users, and even regular admin also can do the deletion of users. In that case, we can say the super admin guard, comma, and admin guard. So in those, we will check whether he is a super admin. If he is super admin, we return true. And for the regular user, a regular admin card, you can basically check if he is a regular admin. So if so, we'll return true. So now when user goes to this path, then we'll check those. Yeah, Angular will go and execute this can activate method, and it will find out what is the output of these methods. And if it found out any guard, right, any of these guards returns true, then it will perform that action. So basically, the point is you can give more than one authentication guard or one authorization guard inside. This can activate configuration parameter. Okay. So as we discussed earlier, so this is pictorial representation of guards. Okay. So you're navigating from one route to another route, and if you don't have any permissions, this guard will check and it will redirect you to a different route. Okay. um, let's say you have the super admin guard and the admin guard, then but you're a regular user and you want to log in. Okay, you're trying to log in, but you don't have either of these roles. Once you log in, you're trying to perform certain action, but you don't have any of these two roles. That time, once user clicks on that action or that page, basically we can redirect him to a different page, right? We'll redirect him to a different page saying you don't have permission to perform this action. Okay, so we can have a generic route which tells that message for every kind of unauthorized access or unauthorized operations. You can have a generic component defined, and that the purpose of that component is just to show certain message, generic message. What it says is that this operation cannot be performed by you because you don't have such role. So that kind of component we can have, and for every time user does such thing, for every user will redirect to that component. Okay, which is more user friendly. Okay, more user it will give a good user experience for the users instead of just keeping him the same page but not doing anything. So it's kind of it will give wrong feeling to the user that a page is frozen. Instead of that, we can redirect to a different component and display some message there. Okay, so we already saw these things, like how to create a guard and how to activate a guard, right? But how to activate guard for child routes? Okay, so let's go to the child route section, and here we have these routes defined. This is route 1 and this is route 2, and the route 2 has a section called children section, right? So the children section again has separate routes. Now under this path, if you have multiple routes or multiple child paths and you want to restrict user to access those, then what you can have is you can have can activate here, and then you can provide that guard there. Okay, so that time, if that is true, then only you'll be able to access all these routes. Otherwise, you cannot access this route and its children. You cannot access it. Okay, I can tell like where this is useful. Let's say you have some product list, and then have some product details. Okay, the product details must be displayed to only admin user. Okay, assume that we have such scenario. In that case, if you put that guard here, after this one, if you put your guard here, if you have admin role, then only you'll be able to access the product details slash the product ID slash all these paths, overview or specs or any other paths you have, right? All these subroutes, right? So you can, if you are admin, then only you'll be able to access. Otherwise, you cannot access. Okay. So just like activating a normal guard, you can activate guard for the child routes also. Okay. So we can execute some examples and see how it will work.
So,
Mm-hmm.
am I audible?
Yeah,
So
you're.
we don't need to give that guard in the child result. We can.
We don't need to. If you have generic guard, then you can use that. But you have specific, for example, if you take this example, um, you must be admin. Okay, you must be admin to access the product details page. That is one thing we already established. And let's say you must have you must have some other role to view this section and some other role to view this section. Okay, that time what you have to do, you have to define the guards here, different guards. Okay, so first it will check whether you have this permission or this access to this like access to the admin role. Okay, where you have admin role. If admin role is true, then it will come here and it will check the second role we were talking about, right? If you have that role also, if you have that role, then you will have access to overview page. Otherwise, again, it will not show the overview component, like the overview component, right? So it will not show. The same way
So we
specs
can
also.
guard at each and every step.
Exactly. So there is actually no difference between the parent level root and this child level root, because the parent level root will have a root. This is a root object, right? So basically, we're defining these roots as an array. Okay. So, but this is a root object. Okay. And this is also root object. And in your children, again, these are root, same root object. Okay. Whatever configuration you are doing in this parent level, you can basically do here also. So there is no difference between this object and this object. Okay. If you are able to give can activate here in the parent one, then you must
It
be able to
affects
give
both of
the can activate in child also.
every.
Okay. So yeah, that's the thing. So I removed stuff from the previous examples. Okay. App routing. We don't have any. Okay, we don't have any guard configuration, right? So let's do one thing. Let me create a guard. Okay, let me quickly create a guard. ng generate guard and admin guard. Okay, so when you are creating when you are creating a guard, it's not like component, it's not like service. So basically, it will ask you uh, which guard should basically you want to create. Okay, so which one? We have 4 types, right? So let's basically mostly we choose this can activate, right? So I can hit on enter. then it will create two files. One is the guard file and one is the test file, that is spec file. Okay, so let's go and find where it created. Yeah, here it is, admin guard. So as we saw in that portal, it generated all this code for us, and it by default it is returning true. Okay, here you can basically write some logic to determine whether user is admin. Okay, so for now I'm hard coding it to true. So whenever this one is used, it will basically return true. This is hard coded value. Now let me go to the routing file, and I can say can activate. It's an array, and inside that I am providing the admin guard. Okay, let's see what we have in home component. In home component, okay, we're displaying something, right? That's fine. Let's go here and so we have to access /home. Okay, so it is displaying. When I try to access /home, it is displaying. But let me go to, let's do one thing, okay? Let's print something here. Console.log admin guard is called. Let me press F12 and go to console. Okay, see, we didn't call that, but when you try to access this path, the admin guard is called and that method is executed. Okay, this method is being executed by Angular. Okay, if I let me refresh this, see, that is being called. Now let's do one thing. Let's print what kind of value we are returning. Okay. Let x equals to true. Let me print x here, and then let me return x here. Okay, basically we're returning true, but I want to print that value what we are returning. That's the reason I chose the variable. Okay, so there is no difference between the previous example and this example. It is still printing. The value is printing as true here. Now let's go and change this to false. Okay, so now it page refresh. The page is not coming. Okay, here, let me go to the /home. Okay, it is redirecting to the home page, the default page, but it's not showing the content in the home component, but still it is executing the authentication guard. So this time it is printing false. Okay, because this is returning false, the Angular is not going to the route we want it to go. Okay, we want it to go to home, but it's not going. It is basically redirecting to the default page, and still it is printing the line what we are printing. So that means, so regardless of whether Angular is going to that route or not, this function is getting executed always. Okay, so if it returns true, that means the action can be performed. If it returns false, then that action cannot be performed. Yeah, any questions so far?
No, sir.
Okay. Okay, I think we covered roots also, but I just showed with a very simple example. But normally the code will not be like this. Okay, you'll be basically calling some service to get some data from the backend service and see if the user is logged in or not. Okay, you will have a backend call, and that backend call will return you whether user is logged in or not. Okay, in that case, if user is logged in, then you will return here true, otherwise you will return false. No, I think we covered this one. I'll show you. I have a different code to show you the authentication authorization, and I'll show you how to do it. Okay, but once these two topics are completed, then we can do this authentication authorization and the deployment also. Okay. This HTTP module and deployment we'll do it tomorrow. Okay. Tomorrow we'll close this course content officially, and then we'll jump into the project, and 2, 3, 4 classes, like 2 to 4 classes, we can work on the project so that we'll gain a little more confident. Okay, and then we can have a couple of mock interviews also, 1 or 2 mock interviews. If you want, I can basically take a couple of mock interviews, like what questions you will get in interviews and how to face them. Okay, then you can basically, it's like a normal interview, right? It's not like explanation. I'll take 1 or 2 classes on what questions you can expect so that you can prepare 1 or 2 days, and then I'll take that mock interview. Okay.